Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory have been serving Quad City families and veterans since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds and are proud supporters of WQPT.
Iowa U.S. Senator Joni Ernst on the Mueller report and Women in Charge and Women Leading Change, the group that's trying to change the way both women and men look at the women in the workforce in the cities. Women Lead Change is a Cedar Rapids-based organization that's trying to further develop, advance, and promote women in the workforce. It's expanding its presence in the cities, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But first, one woman who's already blazing trails for women in Iowa. In 2014, Joni Ernst became the first Iowa woman elected to federal office when she was elected to the U.S. Senate, succeeding Tom Harkin. We'll talk to her about her leadership role as a woman and other opportunities for girls and women across the state. But when I sat down with her after a Davenport town meeting she held, we first talked about the issue of the day, the release of the Mueller report.
Obviously, the Mueller report is where I have to start because it has been established by the report about what happened in the Trump administration and what happened as far as Russian involvement in the 2016 election. Do you think the Mueller report is the be-all and end-all, or is there more investigation that is needed?
Well, I think that the Mueller report is very thorough, and it does a deep dive through the Trump campaign and was there collusion. And so that was the purpose of the investigation. And what we found through the Mueller report is that there was no collusion with Russia. Bottom line, no collusion with Russia. So I think that we have solved that issue. If there are to be other investigations, I don't see that right now. It is potential that maybe the House Democrats could follow up, but it is conclusive in my mind that the report, again, multi-year report, millions of dollars spent, very thorough investigation by a gentleman, Mr. Mueller, who is widely respected by Democrats and Republicans. It's done. The report is done.
Coming up on Wednesday, the Judiciary Committee will be hearing from Attorney General William Barr.
Yes.
What do you hope to hear from that, and what will you be saying as far as your questioning is of the Attorney General?
Right. Well, I do want to hear his overview of the investigation, how that went, how he feels it went, and then his position as Attorney General. What does he think, perhaps, next steps are? Are we done? How did we arrive at the point where we were doing this investigation? And he had indicated about a week ago again when he released the report to the public that there seemed to be maybe misdoings by our federal agencies in actually investigating candidate Trump, and the way I believe he had phrased it, were we spying on our own citizens?
You're talking about the Obama administration as far as the federal agents, and were they looking into the Trump campaign perhaps inappropriately?
Inappropriately, right. So we want to get at the bottom of that. We certainly don't want to be using federal agencies, political positions to go against opponents.
In a broader view, the president is saying that he will try to stop any type of subpoena of his administration. Does that worry you at all as far as the greater picture of the presidency being a co-equal branch with the Congress, that he may try to stop testimony by some of his people before Congress?
Well, I would be concerned just in certain aspects. We want transparency within our administration. What we don't want to do is, if there are national security interests, if there are people, such as in the investigation, the Mueller report, there were redacted pieces. So if the president is talking about folks that might be uncovered, identities uncovered, that may jeopardize national security, we don't want to air that out in public.
I want to talk about another issue that you know very well from both the western side of the state and the eastern side of the state is the flooding that we're facing right now. And you had mentioned that you want to see greater accountability and perhaps greater work by the Army Corps of Engineers as far as flood control is concerned. A lot of people worry when they hear flood control because they think you're just pushing the problem further down the river. What do you see that needs to be changed as far as the Missouri River Valley or the Mississippi River Valley is concerned when it comes to the Army Corps of Engineers?
Right, and I just want to reiterate too that we are still in the midst of a flood. The event is still occurring, not just on our western side with the Missouri River, but also as we see the river about to crest here along the Mississippi as well. So please, folks, make sure you're listening to the emergency management coordinators in your local communities, and please, if they're asking for evacuations, do so. But going back to the Army Corps of Engineers, making sure that they are managing the river system. That is their job. Now, the Corps has spelled out 8 different functions. They follow those 8 different functions, but they don't have a priority. So when we asked General Spellman in our field hearing about a week ago, he had stated that basically flooding only becomes a priority when they see that it's imminent. And so what we would like to see is that flood control be the #1 issue, the priority with the Corps of Engineers. Human life should take precedence over recreation, fish and wildlife, hydropower. Human life should always be the priority when we talk about managing the rivers. So things that could have been done, I'll use the western side of the state as an example, because you mentioned pushing water further downstream. What occurred in this flood event, the water fell below the flood structures. And so through the tributaries ended up in the Missouri River, which overtopped a number of our levees. The levees certainly needed to be fortified. They were not fortified. The Missouri River is filled with silt. Part of the Corps' job is to maintain the river channel. That has not been done in a number of years. So when there's silt buildup, not as much water can flow through the channel and not at a greater speed. So that's when we saw the flooding occurring. So just basically making sure that not only are they maintaining the flood structures, but they're maintaining our levee system and the river channel as well. And I think a lot of what we saw could have been avoided.
Because on the Mississippi side, of course, you think of the Army Corps of Engineers, you think of the lock and dam system. And of course, that is such a major part for the economy, the farm economy for the entire Midwest. But a multi-billion-dollar, multi-year project that's already been looked into. Does more need to be done as far as the lock and dams are concerned, especially along the upper Mississippi? Yes,
there is more that needs to be done. And as we look at potential infrastructure packages moving forward in Congress, the president would love to see an infrastructure package move forward. Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois and I have pushed very heavily for the modernization of the locks and dams along the Mississippi River. And that would go along with every other piece of infrastructure and support that is needed to manage the Mississippi properly.
Talk about women in politics and the change of women in society, as a matter of fact, right now. You're a trailblazer. I mean, you are the first female federally elected official in Iowa. What took so long?
Well, in Iowa, I think a lot of folks really appreciate their federal legislators. And so we had Senator Harkin, who served for a very long period of time, great service to the state of Iowa. And we had Senator Chuck Grassley, who is still serving. When folks go into office and they work really hard, I think Iowans recognize that. And so there really wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for women to get into that space. But what we want to see is encourage more women to run for office. And in fact, Maggie Tinsman and I were having a visit last night about this very issue, how women have to be asked multiple times to engage in an election before they'll actually say yes. Men, on the other hand, they don't even need to be asked to do it. They just make that decision and do it on their own.
And Maggie has said that over and over again. And as you know, she was part of a program for 50-50 in 2020, right, meaning that that she wanted to see at least 50% women representation in the legislature by the year 2020. That's not going to occur, of course. But the strides that you've seen as far as women in Congress, as well as a greater role for women in state government, a female governor elected for the first time as well, that obviously makes you proud, but do you think that that will spur even more growth because you have people to look up to?
I do hope so. I really do hope so. And having our first female governor, Kim Reynolds, I think is an inspiration to a lot of young women out there, and even older women too, because we have a number of women that once they have even, they've raised a family, they've gotten their education, maybe they've run a business, many of them will decide, you know what, I have a lot of wisdom to share as an elected official. And so we see that women of all ages are engaging in elected office. And I think that that is really important. But you do have to have those role models out there as well. And so we have broken through that glass ceiling. I mean, we are shooting towards the moon at this point here in the state of Iowa. And I'm really excited to see that.
Is there a big price you have to pay, though? Because take a look at your particular instance, is that you've talked about sexual abuse that you had faced while in college. You have talked about the role of men in your life as far as your marriage is concerned. This becomes very public that a woman is telling us when, like you said, so many men would not be saying this.
Right.
Is that one of the things that perhaps keeps women away from a higher profile job such as yours?
That's possible. That is possible. But what I want to assure women is that you can be strong through this. And the instances that have occurred in my past certainly haven't defined who I am. They do influence decisions, obviously. And my work on the Violence Against Women Act and other sexual assault prevention bills has been very, very important. And now people understand why that has always been so very important to me. But certainly we want to encourage women to run for office. Just know deep down that you are a strong individual. And there are a lot of naysayers out there. There are a lot of folks that will say you can't do this. And it's up to us to prove them wrong.
We've also seen, besides politics, we've seen people very much get involved in the STEM programs, making sure women, young girls get involved in STEM, because we need female scientists, we need female engineers. Is there a role for the federal government to move this forward more, or is this more of a grassroots or even a corporate thing that has to be done?
I think it is more of a grassroots education process, and we should just always be encouraging women to take advantage of the same opportunities that are presented to men. And I look at Ringgold County native Peggy Whitson, who is an astronaut, and she has spent more time in space than any other woman. She's done a number of spacewalks. She commanded the International Space Station. And I want women to look towards her too, and young girls that are looking at STEM fields and understand, wow, truly, I mean, anything is possible. Whether you want to serve in elected office, whether you want to go to space, whether you want to be the scientist that finds the cure for cancer, we can do that as women, and encourage them not to let the naysayers get them down, but to press on. If that's their goal, they should strive towards that goal.
That's U.S. Senator Joni Ernst. In a moment, empowering women in the workplace. But first, Laura Adams, out and about.
This is Out and About for April 29th to May 5th. There's free family fun all day at Village in Bloom, a festival of art on the 4th. It's time for the annual Volkswagen Car Show at the German American Heritage Center, also on the 4th. Plus, the Corn Belt Running Club's 24-hour race at North Scott High starts at 7 on the 4th. Shop at the Vendor Craft event at the LeClaire Civic Center, or the Craft and Vendor Show at the Gold Leaf Banquet Center, both on the 4th. On May 5th, the Kiwanis hold a spring flea market at the Rock Island County Fairgrounds, plus the MIP Arts and Crafts and Vendor Fair takes place at the Erickson's Chevy Buick Center in Milan. Remembering Our Fallen, a national touring memorial exhibit, will be on display at the Isle Casino Hotel from May 3rd through 12th. Big business means big laughs in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying at the Bruner Theater Center through May 5th. Grumpy Old Men, the laugh-out-loud story of family, friendship, and romance continues at Circa. And for kids, the delightful tale Junie B. Jones is not a crook. The dramedy Silent Sky by Laura Gunderson takes the stage at the Black Box Theater in downtown Moline through the 12th, while the QC Theater Workshop presents the timeless tale of The Little Prince in a new adaptation by Aaron Randolph. And Davenport Junior Theater present James and the Giant Peach through May 5th. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. Tony Hepner is a singer, songwriter, and guitarist who, with three longtime friends, make up his aptly named band Tony Hepner and Friends. He joined us at Moline's Black Box Theater to take center stage alone and sing one of his original works. Here's Tony Hepner and Heart to Heart.
There's an old man sitting on a park bench, talking to the birds and the rabbits that run on by him. He was married in 1946, the love of his life, and they had 3 kids. Never spent a day apart, always heart to heart, just like a Sunday preacher's sermon. You could tell their love was surely heaven sent. Well, they worked every day just to make ends meet. Times were hard, but the love was sweet. Never spent a day apart, always heart to heart. And they were so young when they got married. It was true love, kept the fire burning hot. In the blink of an eye, it all passed by. He could only wonder why. Never spent a day apart, always heart to heart. November brought the cold. How did life get so old? The leaves all fell down. Now his time with her was gone. His time with her was gone. Now there's an old man sitting on the front porch, talking to the birds, the rabbits that run on by him. He was married in 1946, the love of his life, and they had 3 kids. Never spent a day apart, always heart to heart, heart to heart, heart to heart, heart to heart.
Tony Hepner and Heart to Heart. An ongoing effort to promote women in the workplace is getting a boost as the group Women Lead Change expands its outreach in the cities. The group promotes women in the workforce by working with employers. We sat down with its Chief Executive Officer, Tiffany O'Donnell, during her visit to the cities.
What is the point of Women Lead Change? I mean, you sit there and go, women have advanced so far, why is this needed anymore?
In 2 words, it's workforce development. There is a war for talent. And what we see is that the really smart companies recognize they're leaving money on the table by not leveraging all the talents that's out there. So Women Lead Change looks at workforce development through a gender lens. And we look at it from an individual's standpoint as well as an organizational and strategic standpoint. Kind of bringing those 2 together, develop female leaders, create cultures and structures where they can be successful. And ultimately, the goal is for those 2 things to come together to create a better economy.
Well, obviously there's still glass ceilings to be broken, but they're becoming fewer and fewer. Is it the rate of progress is very, I don't know, disconcerting, or is it now that you're just tired of looking back going, oh my gosh, it was just last year that we had a first woman this and a first woman that?
You know, I think the perception that the glass ceiling is not quite as thick as it used to be, I think that is a perception. I think if you look at the numbers, it's really slow going. And I think there are a variety of reasons for that. There is a pipeline issue. You've got to have people ready to ascend to those levels when those opportunities become available. Again, something Women Lead Change is addressing through a really interesting 12-month leadership cohort, working with mid-level, high-potential leaders, the pipeline, if you will, to get them ready to ascend to that. But I think we also have to talk about the structure of the workplace. If being a chief financial officer is a 60-hour-a-week job, period, end of story, you're probably going to have a hard time getting women to step up for that, but you're probably also going to have a hard time getting any millennial, male or otherwise, to step up. We really need to take a hard look at the way we work. And maybe it is 60 hours for this high-level position, but is it 60 hours in the office? Is it 40 hours in the office and maybe the rest at home, which I know most of my friends who work out there do manage their time at home. That usually includes a little bit of work too. So really looking at the way we work and making it flexible and open to all different types of people.
Well, Women Lead Change is really sponsored in a lot of ways by the corporate entities in this area. So is it almost like you're an extension of the HR department, that in a way you are telling people, hey, we can help build this essential part of the workforce, and this is how we'll do it?
We work with a lot of human resources departments within the organizations. We also work with a lot of talent development folks, sharing best practices around what works, how do we recruit, and then more importantly, especially when we talk STEM careers, how do we retain? We can often recruit women to come into our organizations, but if the engineering, for example, environment is still all male and the culture is still very heavily male and not mindful and intentional about including others, women aren't going to stay. We find it really important to work with all HR as well as talent development folks.
Let me ask you though, even before women become part of your organization, they are of course young girls.
Yeah.
And so you've got the elementary schools, the junior high schools, and the high schools, and you mentioned STEM there as well. Is it becoming it's obviously critically important to get women or girls to get ready to think about being women in the workforce. Generationally now, is that just a given?
I think there's still a lot of unconscious bias out there as it relates to our young women. I'm going to point just one example. In my school district, I have a high school age daughter who plays varsity basketball. This past season, they were undefeated, ranked in a much better position than the male varsity basketball team. Every now and then, these districts will have doubleheaders, trying male, female, boys, girls basketball game, all varsity, all the same night, to try and get more people to come mostly to the girls' basketball game. That was kind of the catalyst. How do we get more people in the gym? So we've got this really great girls' basketball team that is given the 6 p.m. slot. Well, when you think about it, you and I know what the 6 p.m. slot is. It's usually JV, certainly not the varsity slot. So, okay, I know that, subconsciously, okay, I'm in the 6 p.m. slot. This is the lens, just so you know, this is the lens from which I see
where you're
things.
going with this.
So we've got this at 6 o'clock. We're actually undefeated and ranked. Okay, that's okay. We'll play the 6 o'clock game. 7:30 comes around, time for the big game, time for the national anthem. Oh, wait. Where was the national anthem for the girls' varsity game? Oh, that's right, we didn't have one. Okay, again, no one intentionally saying this game is less important. But I don't know, already we're not having a national anthem. Take it one step further, the boys' game starts, the lights come down, the spotlights go on, the Bulls fire up music starts to play. Same gym, boys' team not doing as well as the girls' team, but this is that quiet reinforcement of how things are. And I can't say enough that this is not done intentionally. This is the kind of stuff, though, that continues to happen that reinforces very quietly these paradigms that some of these young girls, high school girls, in a time when things are supposed to be more equal than ever, this is the kind of stuff that's in the back of their mind. This is just the narrative.
And then I wonder, because taking that a step forward, you have pointed out that women do have to help themselves lead. They have to grab the bull by the horns. They have to assert themselves. It's instances like that, like you said, the underlying effects of society right now, that really leads to problems once these girls become women in the workforce.
And it's not intentional, it's all unconscious, subconscious, but it becomes that our game isn't as important. First of all, we don't have as many people coming, but second of all, even the bigger picture of folks don't think it's important. That being said, guess who had the spotlight at the next women's varsity basketball game? You're looking at her. When you talk about, we can see stuff like this, but we can't, it's not enough to say, poor us, poor me, I want a spotlight. No, it took a mom going to the athletic director to say, hey, can I do this? Absolutely. No one was gonna say no to that. But we do have to take some ownership of all of this. We do, as you alluded to, have to raise our hands when given the opportunity. There are real reasons why women don't want to have 10 of the 10 qualifications before they apply for a job, and a male wants to have maybe 4 to 5 and thinks I'll learn the rest when he gets there. We want to make sure, we want to be confident that we can do the job and we can be successful, and we don't want to fail. So we don't even try.
The organization Women Can Lead, relatively new in the Quad City area, but coming up this summer, Quad City Women Connect is going to be expanded and introduced. What do you hope to accomplish with that?
Thank you for asking about that. This is a very successful program that Women Lead Change has existing in all of our markets, 5 markets across the state, 4 markets actually. We need to get it here now. This is really addressing the need of development all year long. We have these once-a-year conferences that are incredibly successful here in the Quad Cities. We just had our second, and 600 people came to this incredible leadership development day. But that's one day. So how do we keep that conversation and that development going all year long? We do it through Quad City Women Connect. So it's really our only membership model. Women Lead Change is a non-membership organization. We are all privately funded by companies who support the work that we do. So this is a chamber model, if you will, where some of the region's largest organizations typically, because they have the greatest development needs, will pay to be a member, and what it affords them is a seat at a table of advisors, which is made up of really important, influential decision makers inside these organizations. They come together monthly as a cohort, so they create their own network and cohort, which is a benefit in itself, but they discuss these issues like unconscious bias, like workplace structure, those higher level strategic conversations that need to happen at that level. And then that same group identifies what type of tactical development they want for their teams. And so they'll identify quarterly workshops that by being a member, they get a certain number of seats to come to that. So it really is our effort to be present all year long, to develop individuals, as well as create this this cohort of leaders, which these senior leaders who are women will tell you, it can be pretty lonely up there. So this provides a really great regular monthly network for them.
That was Tiffany O'Donnell, Chief Executive Officer of Women Lead Change. To find out more about the organization, check out the website at WLCglobal.org or contact the Quad Cities Chamber of Commerce for details. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device, thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory have been serving Quad City families and veterans since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds, and are proud supporters of WQPT.